Dear Aries, if you're hearing this right now, it's not by accident. There's an energy calling your name soft, yet unmistakable like a drum echoing through a quiet night. Lately, have you felt it? The world around you shifting, familiar things growing distant, and doors you thought were closed, slowly beginning to open again. That isn't chaos, my friend, it's a signal of a sacred invitation. Because when a soul has walked far enough in silence, the universe always responds. It sends a sign, a person, or an opportunity whispering gently, "I see you and it's time for your reward to unfold." So tonight, let me tell you a story, not about riches or fame, but about a gift beyond form, a divine arrangement written into the fire of your soul long before you could name it. In the quiet of night, some souls keep walking, even when no one is watching anymore. Aries, fire of the first light, you are one of those souls, the ones who don't need a spotlight to prove they're still burning. You've done the right thing when others stayed silent. You've given kindness when the world told you it wasn't worth it. And you've stood in the middle of storms, still whispering gratitude to life itself. Lately, you might have felt unseen, as if all your efforts dissolved into thin air, invisible like breath. But there's an ancient law in this universe. No act of goodness ever disappears. It only waits for the right moment to return. The universe doesn't pay in applause, it pays in timing. And that timing, Aries, is closer than you think. A man, or perhaps an energy powerful and steady, is being drawn toward you. Not because you sought him out, but because the light within you has called him in. He represents divine recognition, a reward not spoken in words but revealed through presence. He may come as a real person, offering opportunity, love, change, or he may appear as a form of universal energy, a sign that your soul has reached the next level of its becoming. In a world that believes you must shout to be heard, you've chosen silence. While others fight to be seen, you've become light because light doesn't need an introduction. And that is why the universe is now seeking you. You thought no one saw you, but God did. That isn't comfort, it's confirmation. Every time you forgave instead of retaliating, every moment you chose faith over anger, the universe took note. Your silence was never wasted. It became a language only mature souls understand, the language of energy. I used to think rewards came from visible effort, but I've learned that the most precious things are always nurtured in the dark. Seeds don't sprout under bright lights, they rise quietly from the soil. So it is with us. We grow most deeply in the unseen moments when no one claps, when no one calls our name. And you, Aries, have been creating something extraordinary, simply by staying true to your own flame. Imagine a thin golden thread running from your heart to the heart of the universe. Each time you choose love over bitterness, that thread vibrates, sending ripples into everything around you. And now, that vibration has become strong enough to summon what's meant for you. Not money, not fame, but divine acknowledgement. The universe never forgets those who live in truth. It only waits for their hearts to be steady enough to receive. In today's world of noise, what people lack isn't opportunity, it's meaning. We don't need more voices speaking well. We need more souls doing right when no one's watching. And you, Aries, are living proof of that. By being who you are, you've become a quiet reminder to humanity that light doesn't need to be noticed, it only needs to be lived. If you're listening right now and something within you stirs, that's your sign. Pause for a moment. Breathe in. Know that nothing you've done was in vain. Your reward is coming, not to rescue you, but to place you exactly where your soul belongs. So when the new wind begins to move around you, don't fear it. When a chance, a person, or an invitation appears, don't call it coincidence. It's the frequency you sent out, returning home. The universe is answering you in your own language. And when that light begins to seep into every corner of your life, you'll understand. The true reward was never the gift itself, but the state of the soul who knows it has lived in truth. But the journey doesn't end here, because after every blessing there comes another gentle test, not to break you, but to open a deeper doorway, where your silent efforts will finally be seen in a way you never imagined before. There are seasons in life, Aries, when you feel like you're walking down a long hallway with no light at the end. Every step echoes into emptiness and no applause follows. You keep doing what's right, keep your promises, keep giving kindness, but no one seems to notice. And maybe you've wondered, does any of this even matter when the world doesn't seem to care? But then, in the stillest moments, the universe whispers back, reminding you that every action born from a pure heart carries its own soul. It doesn't need recognition, because it shines quietly between two breaths of silence, like a single drop of water falling into a calm lake. Your unseen deeds create ripples that travel farther than you can imagine. In the teachings of the Buddha, there's a truth both simple and profound. True virtue doesn't need to be known. It blossoms naturally in the heart that gives. Each time you choose patience when you could have chosen anger, each time you listen instead of defending, a seed of compassion is planted in the soil of awakening. And one day, when the seasons align, those seeds will bloom not under bright lights, but in the quiet sunrise of your own heart. Aries, you've stayed silent when you could have justified yourself. You've stepped back so others could move forward. You've given kindness with no return, telling yourself, maybe it's enough that I know. But the truth is, the universe knows. It records every breath of compassion, every gentle act that asked for nothing in return. You gave grace with bare hands, expecting nothing, and the universe remembered. People often think reward comes after effort, but the real reward is the state of your soul, the peace that remains when you choose love in a loveless world. When you protect your inner light in a culture that glorifies judgment, you've already won, not in the eyes of the crowd, but in the evolution of your spirit. I've met many strong souls like you, Aries, healers who never preach but simply live their truth. They don't talk about kindness, they embody it, even when it hurts. They smile when no one smiles back. They bow their heads when others demand a reaction. And in that humility, they emit a frequency of light only those who truly listen with their hearts can feel. Sometimes, it's the smallest, quietest gestures that become the loudest prayers. A hand placed on someone's shoulder in despair. A kind word instead of a harsh judgment. A shared meal when you barely have enough. These moments may seem ordinary, but they are the language the universe understands best. If you're hearing this now and your heart stirs, it's not by chance. It's your soul remembering every time you chose gentleness over bitterness. And now, the energy you once sent out is returning to you, not as a reward, but as a realignment with the frequency your soul created. Picture this: every quiet act you've ever done is a small light glowing in the dark. Maybe you walked away thinking no one saw it, but that light stayed, guiding someone else through their fear. That's how your energy spreads, not loud, not fast, but deep and steady. And one day, when you pause and notice your life shifting, when new opportunities appear, when people you never expected to meet begin showing up, don't ask why now. Just smile, because you're witnessing the universe's response to all your silent efforts. To others, it may look like luck, but through the eyes of the soul, it's divine recalibration. Everything you've sent out, love, honesty, patience, is returning now, wearing the form of opportunity, of connection, of an outstretched hand. Aries, the true reward isn't in what you receive. It's in who you've become because of what you gave. And when your soul has learned to sow in silence and harvest in gratitude, new doors begin to open on their own. Because sometimes in that single pause between breaths, in that sacred stillness of your heart, destiny quietly shifts. And in that moment, you no longer need to be seen. Because, Aries, you have already become the light. Sometimes we think life is taking something away from us. A job we once called secure, a relationship that felt unshakable, or simply the sense of being familiar with ourselves. But Aries, what we call loss, is often just a gentle adjustment of destiny, the invisible hand that turns your ship before it drifts off course. Relocation, in the language of the soul, is not about moving houses. It's the shifting of your inner frequency when your energy becomes too vast, too radiant to remain contained in an old pattern. You're not being pushed out of your old life. You're being invited into a higher form of living. I've seen many people standing at the crossroads, tears falling, convinced that everything was collapsing. But a year later, they look back and realize the day they thought was an ending was the exact day the universe secretly redrew their map. That's the moment of redirection, when you're no longer saved by another hand, but guided by the light within your own. Aries, you don't need someone to rescue you. You don't need anyone to pull you out of the dark, because truthfully, the light never left. It has always been resting quietly in your chest, waiting for you to open your eyes and see it. Every change you're experiencing now, whether in work, love, or your inner world, isn't punishment. It's an invitation. A soft voice from the universe whispering, you're ready for a higher version of yourself. Sometimes guidance arrives without thunder or prophecy. It comes as a subtle wind inside your heart, a persistent nudge that says, go, this place no longer holds your soul. And when you finally listen, you realize you're not leaving safety. You're returning to your greater self. You are not escaping life, you are expanding into it. If something is pulling you away from old habits, don't resist. If a door suddenly closes, don't rush to force it open. Closed doors aren't rejection, they are protection, keeping you from revisiting a chapter that's already taught its lesson. The universe never takes without preparing to return something far greater. Remember, the physical world is only a mirror of the soul's motion. When your heart begins to shift its frequency, reality rearranges itself. Relationships fade, jobs end, familiar routines crumble, not as chaos, but as pieces moving back into alignment. You're not being pushed off your path, you're being gently placed back onto it. I believe that before every sunrise there's a sacred stillness, a quiet pause where the universe is setting the stage. It's arranging the people you'll meet, the places you'll go, and the lessons you're ready to receive. What feels like loss is often the hand of destiny, gently turning you toward your true north. So when an old door closes, don't run. Stand still for a moment. Breathe. Feel the silence. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear it, your heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the universe, whispering, I'm here. I never left. Aries, you're being guided, not pushed. Every shift around you is simply creating more room inside you so your soul can grow. The change you fear is, in truth, your greatest gift, the gift of becoming. So don't look back too long. Don't grieve what's already served its purpose. Every relocation is written in the flame you carry. And sometimes that flame just needs a new home to shine its brightest. Soon, you'll see that what once felt like breaking is only the opening of a new path. And somewhere in that changing wind, a soul is already walking toward you, not to hold you back, but to walk beside you. As the light ahead finally begins to reveal itself. In every soul's journey, there are encounters that logic can't explain. People call them fate, but really, they are the meeting points of two frequencies written into the music of the universe long ago. Aries, you're approaching such a moment where the light within you begins to call forth the light in another. He may be a wealthy man. He may carry power, influence, or simply the quiet strength of a soul that has learned the lessons of faith and mastery. No matter what form he takes, his presence is not here to save you. He's here to mirror the light you've been protecting all along. From the lens of Buddhist wisdom, every person we meet is a reflection of our own mind. When your heart expands, the world around you begins to change its shape. The person entering your life now isn't here to teach you love. He's here to show you that you've already learned what love truly is. Pure, grounded, and free of transaction. Aries, in these past years, you've learned how to stand on your own 2 feet. You've wiped your own tears, picked yourself up after the fall, and stopped waiting for someone to lead you through the storm. And that independence has changed your energy completely. The frequency you're radiating now isn't the song of loneliness, it's the sound of wholeness. And when a soul reaches that vibration, the universe begins to send others who match it. He isn't coming by chance. He's answering the signal you've been sending all along. He, whether in human form or symbolic energy, carries the sacred masculine essence, the same energy that once lived within you but that you may have forgotten. He's not here to protect you from the world. He's here to remind you of the strength that's always been in your heart. When two aligned energies meet, they don't bind or overpower each other, they expand together. In this world, we are taught to chase, to prove, to hold on. But in the language of the soul, what truly belongs to you will always find you. When you live in truth, no pretending, no forcing, no running, kindred souls will hear that signal, even from 1,000 miles away. I still believe that the most sacred reunion isn't when two people meet for the first time, but when they remember each other. When their eyes meet, and the world seems to pause for just a heartbeat, not because they're surprised, but because they recognize. Aries, You've walked through enough darkness to understand that love is no longer about rescue. It's about companionship, two souls who know who they are, standing strong in each other's light. And the one moving toward you, whether he comes as a man, a mentor, or a profound opportunity, carries that purpose. He arrives as a response from the universe, bringing you the gifts of recognition, protection, and trust. Receive it with an open heart, no rush, no defense. Trust that what's right will find you when you're ready to hold it with love, not fear. Sometimes the hardest part isn't waiting, it's believing you're worthy of what you've waited for. And now, Aries, you've reached the point where the universe says, you don't need to prove anything anymore. You only need to stand in your own light, and what's meant for you will recognize you. If you sense someone moving closer in your energy, don't doubt it. Let your heart observe, not with your eyes, but with your stillness. Let the connection unfold naturally, like two rivers meeting without a map. Because what's written in the soul can never miss its timing, can never lose its way. And in that moment, when you realize you're being seen, understood, and honored for exactly who you are, know this. It's not just a person arriving. It's the reflection of harmony between you and the universe itself. It's the moment your inner light is mirrored outward, and for the first time in years, you'll feel that you are no longer alone. But for this sacred meeting to take root, you must create space for it. Space not only in your home, but in your mind and heart. Clear out old memories, the fears that cling to your ribs, the attachments you've mistaken for survival. Because sometimes, only when your hands are empty can the universe finally place in them the gift you've been praying for all along. Whenever a new chapter of the soul is about to unfold, the universe always sends a quiet signal first. Sometimes it's the sudden urge to rearrange an old room. Sometimes it's the strange pull to let go of things you once clung to. And sometimes it's that subtle moment when you stand in your own home and realize something in the air has changed. As if a beam of light is waiting to enter but hasn't yet found the door. Aries, this is the moment of sacred preparation. Not the kind born of fear, but of faith. Because light cannot enter a space still crowded with what's outlived its purpose. Start with something simple. Clean the space around you. Fold the blanket, wipe the table, open the window wide and let the sunlight in. Turn off the TV that hums to an empty room. Look around, what are you still holding onto out of fear, not need? Each time you release something old, you're telling the universe, I trust what's coming. In the teachings of the Buddha, it is said, purity does not begin in the house, but in the heart of the one who cleans. When you clear your home, you're also clearing your mind. Every speck of dust you remove doesn't just leave the furniture, it leaves the corners of your heart that memory once claimed. And when the heart is cleared, your energy begins to flow again. Light no longer has to knock, it simply enters. I once knew a woman who stood up in the middle of her darkest season simply by cleaning her old workspace. She told me that as she wiped the desk, tears began to fall, not from exhaustion, but from the realization that her spirit had been gathering dust for years. She didn't know that in that small act she was restarting the rhythm of her own life. A week later, new work found her. A month later, her entire world began to shift. Not because of magic, but because she made room for magic to happen. Aries, the small things you do today are not meaningless. When you sweep with awareness, when you fold the blanket with gratitude, you are performing a ritual of the soul. Every motion carries energy. Each act done with love becomes a prayer whispered to the universe. Don't underestimate the power of the simple. When you light a candle, you're inviting light in. When you wash your teacup, you're rinsing away hurry. When you stand still in your room and take a deep breath, you're declaring, I'm ready. You don't prepare because you're desperate. You prepare because you believe. In this rushed age, people think only big actions can change a life. But often, it's the quietest gestures that shift everything. When you pause to straighten a curtain, replace a bulb, or watch sunlight pour through a glass of water, your heart returns to center. And from that center, everything right begins to align again. Preparation, you see, isn't about control, it's the art of trusting. When you clear a drawer, you're clearing away old doubts. When you throw out what once weighed you down, you're teaching your soul how to walk lighter. And when your room begins to brighten, you realize that glow isn't just entering from outside. It's radiating from within you. Trust that the universe understands the language of action. When you clean, it hears you say, I am ready for beauty. When you stay calm within, it hears, I trust the divine order. So if you feel that stirring inside, that urge to refresh your space, your mind, your life, don't hold back. Begin. Fold the old chapter softly like a letter you've read too many times. Open the window. Let light touch the corners it hasn't reached before. And then you'll see, as the outer space clears, the inner world begins to breathe again. And in that breath, in that perfect stillness between exhale and inhale, something will start to move. At first, it will be gentle like a whisper, but soon it will spread like a flame catching air, quietly opening the next chapter, where your soul is reborn, in the stillness and the light of faith. In the moments when you think everything has stopped, Aries, your soul is quietly shifting into a new frequency. Rebirth never arrives with thunder, it comes as a breath, soft and unseen. Like a flower blooming in the dark, never asking to be witnessed. You are now entering the cycle of 777, the number of completion, awakening, and divine selection. Not chosen to be above others, but chosen to live fully aligned with your sacred essence. 777 is the soul's signal that it has outgrown its old lessons. It no longer needs to prove anything, only to be, quietly yet powerfully. The days behind you may have felt heavy, as if the universe was testing your endurance. But the truth is, nothing has been taken from you. Only the shape of your energy is changing. In Buddhist teaching, it is said, nothing is ever lost, only transformed. The old dissolves to make way for the new. Things don't disappear because you are unlucky, but because you have become too strong to need them anymore. Aries, every loss is a form of refinement. When you lose someone, you learn to look inward. When you lose what's familiar, you rediscover what's real inside your heart. When you lose direction, you finally begin to hear your soul's voice again. And through it all, the old version of you gently fades, making room for a brighter, deeper, truer self to be born. This world doesn't reward the loud, it honors the honest. And honesty isn't just about speaking truth, it's living it. You've learned to stay silent when silence is sacred, to walk away from what no longer fits, to say no even when your heart trembles. That, Aries, is the mark of a maturing soul. You are not being removed, you are being trusted. The universe isn't pushing you out of the game, it's promoting you to a new level of responsibility, a chance to shine from within without the need for armor. When the soul goes through transformation, loneliness often follows. You may feel empty, even detached. But in that emptiness, the divine is planted. Think of it as the soul's winter, the still season before the bloom. Every tear you've shed, every time you stood back up despite exhaustion, was part of your rebirth ritual. Aries, place your hand over your heart for a moment. Can you hear it? It's still there, steady, loyal to life itself. No matter how many times you've fallen, that heartbeat has never left you. It's a reminder that even when the world thought you were broken, the life force within you never gave up. That pulse, that rhythm, is the light the universe trusts most. If these words stir something within you, if your heart hums softly in the silence, know this: you are being called back to yourself. This is your moment to write a new declaration of faith for your soul. I don't need control, I just need trust. Let that trust lead you toward the light that's been waiting all along. And if these words reach you, write 777 or share your story below. Tell me how your silent effort shaped you, because when you speak your truth, you're not just healing yourself, you're lighting the path for someone else. Rebirth is never a single moment. It's a series of small deaths, of ego, of habit, of fear. And each time something old falls away, your truest self expands. When you look back, you'll see it clearly. What you thought was lost were only the shells that had served their purpose. Aries, your soul is growing in ways the mind can't comprehend. Let it move. Let things dissolve. And in that dissolution, trust that you are being perfectly repositioned. Because sometimes, the moment you feel like you're breaking is the moment the universe is reshaping you precisely, lovingly, beautifully. And when warmth begins to rise again in your chest, when fear releases its grip and your heart opens to life, you'll realize something profound. What's coming isn't just a reward. It's recognition from the universe itself, a quiet affirmation that you are ready. Ready for the new chapter, ready for the light that's about to knock. and ready for the journey your soul chose long before you could name it. At some point in every journey, Aries, it stops being about how far you've gone and becomes about who you've become along the way. And now, you've reached what the universe calls graduation energy, the moment when life no longer tests you, but begins to place you exactly where your soul belongs. You didn't arrive here by accident. You didn't happen to hear these words. You didn't stumble here, you summoned this. Every moment you thought you were lost was simply a step guiding you to this place, this person, this divine timing. This is the hour when every silent effort, every unseen act of kindness, every tear shed in solitude begins to speak. No more explanations needed, no more proving your worth, because the true reward isn't what you receive, it's finally seeing yourself in your own light. Aries, take a deep breath. Feel how the universe moves quietly around you now. No storms, no noise, just the peace of dawn, soft and weightless. The peace of a soul that knows every effort was worth it, every lesson has settled, and every blessing is finding its way to you. Your light was never decoration, it was divine design. The light in you was never meant to impress, it was meant to illuminate. What you've endured didn't dim it, it polished it. Your wounds didn't break you, they refined you, making your light more transparent, more powerful, more true. Maybe you once thought you had to do more, to try harder, to prove you deserved happiness. But the universe never asked that of you. It only wanted your presence. When you live in truth, blessings don't arrive as rewards, they flow as a natural response. You don't have to chase what's already yours. You simply open your heart and the light will find its way in. If these words bring even a small smile to your lips, if your heart begins to slow down as if it suddenly understands, that is your sign. You're ready. You don't need to know what's coming next, only that it's written in love and it's arriving in light. Stand still for a moment, no rushing, no doubt. Let goodness move toward you without resistance. And when you feel that subtle energy touch your shoulder, whisper softly as a sacred reply to the universe. If you feel this message was written for you, whisper, "I am ready." Let the universe hear your yes. Aries, you've gone far enough, waited long enough, believed deeply enough for the light to finally find you. The uncertain days are behind you. The long nights of asking why are over. This is your moment of recognition, the universe's quiet nod, affirming that you've become exactly who you were meant to be. And when you look back, you'll see the pattern clearly. Every tear was rain washing your path clean. Every wound was a window letting light in. Every delay was a pause, giving the universe time to prepare what you truly deserve. Thank you, dear Aries, for listening with an open heart. May your next step be guided by grace, and may your silent efforts finally speak in the language of miracles.